and 2 of them, no locks, and 1 lock hanging down there. So yeah, we did have our fair share, but these were brand new pieces of equipment, and we got to give them some sort of little leeway for learning curve here, you know.
Although the whole bunch of loss of ballots that suddenly appeared.
That too. Yeah, I was freaking out election night myself, going, wait a minute, I've never seen this kind of undervote for the office I was running for before, ever. And I've been keeping track since 2000. I've got all the election reports all the way back. Being a quality guy, you know, I got to look at the numbers and see what kind of trends we got going. So basically, that's where we're standing. What we intend to do is, once we have the names of the people, the committees that they're on, and where's the bill number, emails, phone calls, witness slips, pretty much harass them with postcards too. Everything we can do, and these are all things you guys, everybody can do in their own time, at home. You know, we don't have to do like a phone bank and a meeting place to do this. Anybody, somebody that's not here today already helped put together all of our new elected state reps and senators. We'll get that out to people. Once we get the names and the contact information, we'll get that out to people. We're working on scripts that you guys can follow or use as a reference when you want to put a postcard or a phone call or email together. But basically, this was going to be a working meeting of the membership so we could get our bylaws passed and submitted to the state group for their approval. And nominating elections, meaning that the elections would happen, we wouldn't be official until the bylaws have been passed and everything has been approved by the state guys. And then discuss some of the forming of our committees. One of the things that the state requires, the state group requires, is that members are, in order to hold an office, vote, or suggest any kind of amendments to the bylaws, you have to be a state member, which is a $25 yearly fee. But we can also have what they call affiliate members. And that's once the board is elected and approved by the state, we can make any group or person an affiliate member. Let Sherry, please.
She got it.
She got it. Oh. It's the other door open.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dave 1 and Dave 2, sorry.
Hi, Jerry. This will apply to Jerry. Jerry's actually from King County.
Hi, everybody.
She's a state member, but she can't hold office in our county or be elected, but we can make her an affiliate member. That's how individuals can become an affiliate member. An affiliate member can be chairs and members of committees. I don't want to do this. The bylaws say that we can also have membership fees for affiliate members, but the way I figure it is, if you can't vote, hold office, or make an amendment request, I shouldn't charge you to be a member. You know, I don't think that's fair. That you get charged a membership fee just like a voting member. So that's one thing we will discuss after we're approved on how we want to do this, but that's my feeling. Okay. So basically, those that are members now, you have copies of the bylaws, right? Yep. Did you guys have a copy of the bylaws? Basically, the only changes to the bylaws is anywhere to say corporation, and changed it again to say chapter. The other thing I did is, speaking of the membership, is I added affiliate members may be appointed to a permanent or standing committee as a chair or member. And the other big change is under membership and standing committees, the membership 7.1B.1. I added, will present new member applications to the board for approval. The committee will establish a member's code of conduct and report all violations to the board for action. And I think that was, oh yeah. On the very last page, under miscellaneous 13.1 amendment, after approval of the chapter membership, amendments will be forwarded to the state board for their approval and will not be effective until state approval is due. So those were the only changes that I made. Besides the yellow highlight.
Those were on your copy now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, as a quality guy, I keep, we made these changes on the phone with Larry yesterday and then printed out 15 copies of it. I got up this morning and said, let me look at this again.
Got it.
Us quality guys, we're never done. We keep looking over to make sure we didn't miss anything, and we missed a whole bunch of, because we are not a corporation, okay? Basically how it'll work, and we're working on this, is we will not have to file with the state government or the IRS. We will be under the tax number of the state group, and at the end of the year, we'll have to give them a balance statement showing what we took in, what we expensed out.
Makes sense.
And if we have any money left over, that could be taxable. So this is one of those places where spend whatever we have before the end of the year so we don't get taxed on it, kind of thing. I think that's a lot easier than, like my committee for my candidacy. I think Joel will agree with that.
Yes.
It's really, and half the $25 that we give to the state comes back to us. So we could pay for like this meeting room and the snacks and printing and all of that and mailings and whatnot. We do not have to declare that as income, but we do have to show it in our bank. Because it's like two divisions of the same business. One transferring funds from one division to the other. It's not an income to us, but they're taking the whole hit on the $25. We don't have to now get a hit on $12.50. You know what I'm trying to say here? So we're not double taxed.
Are we a nonprofit?
Yes, we are a nonprofit.
Then you don't pay taxes.
We don't pay tax on it.
But you have to do E99 file.
They have not filed paperwork for the 501(c), so officially right now, they have filed paperwork as a C corporation, which is a nonprofit corporation. but they still
We'd be a
pay
C4,
more.
we'd be a C4, not a C3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still wouldn't pay any taxes.
Well, C3,
C3 is our,
you cannot endorse a candidate. A C4, you can.
Right.
They do not.
But the
endorse
C3
candidates.
if that allows you to donate to an organization and take a tax deduction, which you can't take tax deductions anymore, so
Right.
it's sort of moot,
Yeah.
but that
Well,
means
sure will,
C3
yes.
did.
So right now, technically, we're operating as a C3 corporation. Or a
Should be
C4. No, just a C corporation, regular C business corporation. Okay, and they are subject to tax. So
Right,
that was
right.
brought up.
So why not go for C4?
Yeah.
They're still working on it.
Okay.
Because C4s are very limited in what they can and cannot do politically, including endorsing candidates, donating to campaigns, and other things like that. And I'm not sure that the group wants to.
Until the rules were revised recently, yes.
And like I said, when I got the list from them about, they had 13 members and 7 of them was us. So the other night I was at the Woodstock Pride meeting, and they were discussing how their filing's going, and they said, yeah, it was $50 to the state, another 50 to the IRS, and then they have to do this 3-year income projection thing, and submit that paperwork, it was going to be another $600. So we only have 5 members.
Yeah.
Probably trying to get $600 together wasn't something they could do right away. So,
I mean, to me, it sounds like as it grows, and we are the pilot here. I mean, this is.
yes, we are the pilot, we are
We're the
very
proving
first
ground,
round.
if you will.
I will admit that I basically took their state, any quality person will tell you we don't like to have to start from scratch and reinvent the wheel. We are the biggest plagiarists in the world. I will admit to that, okay? So basically, I took the state, I got rid of their Article 9, which was on forming chapters, because chapters shouldn't be able to form chapters, and I moved everything down, and any place that said corporation, I put in chapter. And then added those few other things that I said I added this morning. So basically, I think I need a motion to approve the bylaws as I've stated them.
Can we discuss some more?
Okay.
Why are we not a corporation
C 3, 4, or 3 or 4.
of some kind of corporation? Except we're just a 501.
No, we're not even 501.
Oh, okay.
The state is a C corporation.
We're existing underneath the umbrella of the state.
Oh,
We're basically an affiliate, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just like any business.
umbrella. We're like NBC 5 of NBC.
When you say under the state, you don't mean,
Not the
State of
state
Illinois.
group, I'm sorry.
not the state of Illinois, but
No, the state group.
Right, and they are a corporation.
They're a C corporation.
Right, so
That's a
we,
nonprofit
so we'd
tax.
be just an affiliate of them, so we, right, we would not be.
We can use their tax number to open up a bank account. We don't have to do it
Right.
our own.
But if they're a corporation, then we're still a part of the corporation.
We will be. Once we're approved,
Okay.
they won't approve us till we hold the nominating elections and pass the bylaws and send them up to them to approve the bylaws. Yes, Larry?
I'll make the motion that we approve the bylaws as presented and corrected by you.
Okay. Seconded. Thank you. All right, so everybody's a member. Oh, should have had a little member tag. Okay. We can do a voice or hand vote on this. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we got our bylaws passed. Part of our bylaws say that our voting method, at all meetings except for the election of officers and directors, all votes shall be by voice or where the voice vote is indeterminate by count of hands. For election of officers or directors, ballots shall be provided and there shall not appear on such ballot any marking or other indication which would allow identifying the person who casts such a ballot. If we don't have contested offices, do we want to go with the paper ballots?
Just do it.
Let's just do the paper ballots?
Yeah, I mean, we have our secretary in the back of the room recording everything, so I think we're all.
Okay.
Sorry.
Jill thought he was going to be secretary for a second.
Right.
Wait, that's supposed to be working.
There is no procedure, like some of us have dealt with the Democratic Party where you have to have somebody nominate you and get 3 signatures or anything like that. Others of us that have been in other groups, just who's willing to be the sucker to take the spot. So, basically,
So there is this, it says a person can call for a roll call vote or
Yeah.
on the voting, it's a section 9(1)B.
right, but right above that it says it has to be.
Well, right, but
Yeah.
hey,
Okay,
show of hands, that if you're not counting the hands and recording the count of the hands,
you're our parliamentarian.
it's what the person in charge says, and maybe that's not exactly what you want to take, where we may want a roll call vote or a written vote, and so it says that members have the right to request that.
Okay.
Although you had said by a more majority, then that's a thing, but that's a good thing, because you've never watched Mike Madigan lead a meeting?
I try not to have to. So do we want to do it by roll call, paper?
Look like paper. Then you got a record.
Okay.
You want paper? Okay, paper.
One question here, in section 5.4B, voting electronically or by telephone, how does that tie with the roll call vote showing hands? Is it relevant, correct?
Well, in this case, I would say, since we don't have anybody doing that, it wouldn't apply. We don't have anybody calling in.
Right now.
But I think if you have somebody call in, I think the secretary would be the recording person.
Right.
For that.
Right.
No. Dude. I didn't take notes in high school, I don't take notes.
So the way we had it set up, according to the state, we need a minimum of 3 officers, chair or vice chair, and a combination secretary, treasurer. Having been part of some other groups, I know that putting those 2 together is asking an awful lot of one person. So I would like to set it up that we have 4 individuals for those, and then 3 board members, board of directors. So a total of 7 people, officers board. At this point, I think anybody that would like to be the chair?
I see you standing up.
Yeah. Nominate Drew Georgie.
I nominate you, he's been voluntold, we're good.
Volunteer is great.
Does anybody else need a pen?
Chair.
That was rude.
Okay. Anybody else?
We're holding nominations, you're saying.
Yeah, so we know who's going to vote for it. Nobody else wants to jump in the hot seat? Okay.
Which hot seat?
The chair.
No, you can have that.
Do we really need to make it official and write it now?
That's right, just write it down.
All right.
Are we going?
Yes.
We got
This is a vote? Well, there's only one candidate.
Well, yeah,
Right.
it is not really a vote, it's just kind of like, do we all agree or not?
You can write your name down for each office.
Yeah, you can write down the whole thing. Yeah, one piece of
Well, you
paper.
could, yeah.
Unless you have a contested vote.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So we can put them all on.
That's, yeah.
yeah, fill that out, I'll grab your
I
copy.
don't think we have a lot of people vying for it.
So just put down the
Yeah.
office and the person's name, that we'll make this one piece of paper, so we don't have to keep killing trees. Okay, that would bring up the vice chair.
Me. Brett Bader.
You just like it. I'll second that.
What's the
Not
name?
vice like, you know.
B-R-E-T-T,
B-R-E-T-T, yes.
Brett.
And we have no other
B-I-E-D-E-R.
candidates for vice chair?
Anyone else?
P-I-E-D-E-R. Brett.
City secretary?
Who's good at note taking?
Hey, Cameron.
I know somebody that's got a lot of experience, but I'm not going to ask her myself. Unless you,
Mrs. Burdenschmidt, would you please be secretary?
I nominate Kathy Bergen-Schmidt to
I
be
second.
secretary.
uh-oh.
We love you, Kathy, would you consider it, please? You're good at it.
She's good at a bunch of things.
I guess I could do that.
We love you.
How do you spell your last name? Spell your last name.
There is a lot of competition for that office.
Which ones?
If you want to, you can do what I do, and she hates me for this, but KBS.
Yeah.
Or Kathy Burden Schmidt.
Craig Concook told me once, worked with him in the Historical Society. Kathy Two Names is your Indian name.
And that would bring us up to the treasurer. And like I said, since we will be working under the tax number of the state group, it should be a relatively easier than having to do it as like we have to do quarterly for candidates.
I nominate Larry Spade for treasurer.
Still looking.
Love you, Larry.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right, very good. You're the winner.
Anyone else?
So Larry.
So as he has said, I have served various offices in various organizations, but never, ever, anywhere have I been a treasurer.
Oh.
He did not get nominated yet. Secretary Treasurer.
And even the only place was on my own political action committee.
Let's see, president, vice chair, secretary, no parliamentarian at all for the Dems that I know. The Historical Society, right? You've been
League
in
of Women
that.
Voters.
Yeah,
The League of Women Voters.
I haven't had any offices there.
So you got, so
This is
three-
why the party made our parliamentarian, because she knows this stuff, backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
Sideways, yeah.
So we got three more to go.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we want to do the board of directors, since
There's who wants to be on it? First off, just say
what would
that.
like,
I have a question.
yes.
Is there anybody else here from the southern part of the county, like the southeast corner? Huntley, Algonquin, Lincoln Hills?
Jerry,
Jerry's just like right over the
Oh,
border.
okay. I was gonna say, because we're.
Jerry is a
Don't
member
visit
of the
it.
state already.
Uh-huh.
Since she's in Kane County, we can make her an affiliate member once we're all elected, and these have been approved by the state group. She can become an affiliate member. It's just that I do not want to steal her from Larry quick and hear crap about it. So she could be like our affiliate liaison member between the two groups.
Okay, so Mike Toller,
So
Okay, Mike is volunteer.
Mike Toller.
Diane,
Diane.
I would like to, because I'm Huntley, Lincoln, the Hills, and that area.
Did some
I've
southern-
been-
The Southern Exposure.
Sorry, Toller.
Yeah.
Now, to be a board member, you have to be a full member, not just an affiliate, right?
right, be an officer of the, you have to be a member of the state group.
Right, so anybody who's volunteering
Mary Jo?
to be on the board is also volunteering $25.
Yeah,
Anyone?
only those people that
Elier.
have already turned in their 25, like today, like she did, and Diane. Only those that we know that are actually members of the state group right now can hold an office. So yeah, these people, Mike has turned in his stuff today, Diane's turned in hers today. I will verify with Roy that you turned in yours, if you'd like to be.
I turned on it.
You, no,
No,
the
doesn't
next
mean.
teacher. Okay.
We have three volunteers. Anyone else?
Yeah, I haven't paid any money yet.
Altogether.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I sent it to the state and I haven't responded, so I had no idea.
No one solicited me.
Mike, Diane, and Mary Jo volunteering.
Okay.
I should just.
Anyone else interested?
Mary Jo.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Okay.
Mike. Diane.
Mary Jo's
That's
last name.
awesome.
I don't understand the state has less members than we do.
There's only one Mary Jo.
Okay, that would bring us up to discussion and forming committees.
Oh, wait,
You
you
gotta-
gotta collect the
Oh,
balance.
yeah,
Who's
okay.
the third one?
I get, well,
Mary Jo, Diane, and Mike.
You're just gonna walk around, okay?
So we'll put those on.
No,
I'll give her a break this
I don't
time.
know anybody. I'm not gonna vote on some people I don't know.
Well, Mike is collecting
Oh,
them.
see, nice.
We have 8 committees, permanent or standing committees. Some of these are a little ahead of what we would need to do right now. I don't see a real need to rush into fundraising right away yet. Since we have no idea what kind of postage or how we're gonna feel about those kind of things. What I was thinking is we need people for a membership committee so we can draft our code of conduct right away. That should be one of our first orders of business. Media and PR group, so we can work on getting contact lists and guides on how to submit press releases. And activate our Facebook page that Brett has so greatly set up for us, and it's just waiting for us to push the button on once we get
Sounds
approval.
like you belong in the media and PR group.
Yeah.
We already have a Facebook set up, it's just not.
Waiting to launch.
We can still see you.
There.
Just shirking responsibility.
Yeah, just, yeah.
Come on, boys.
That's how my 13-year-old does it at home, so I feel.
Political contacts group, I already have a spreadsheet that I started. How long have I been doing that, Kathy? Keeping track of all of our elected officials?
It's been
a
a
while.
few years.
It's just that I haven't had time to really keep it up to date right now. Meg is already, like I said, got a spreadsheet going for our state contacts.
It's a killer, guys. I mean, for the higher offices, it's not too bad, but if you're trying to keep track of all the local offices, it is hard work. Joe's even said.
Joe, last year,
Because-
my count for this election was 220 scheduled. That didn't include like Hebron, who everybody now has to go up because half of them were appointed.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
God knows
it's
where the hell you are right now, we're trying to get all those names together.
It's something else. And so, okay, they'll go and they have their election and you think everything will be straight by about May or so. And the May, you know, who's supposed to be there? But of course, there's a few positions there was no candidates for, and they're gonna have to appoint some people.
Right.
And then within a few months, someone's family situation has changed and they're moving out of the district. And so you gotta replace them, and so somebody new comes in there. I mean, a list is not the same from year to year. I don't even know if a complete list is the same from 6 months to 6 months.
Yeah, the
That's
last time I
real.
updated it was after the 2017 election, and it didn't include anybody that filled the empty seats
Or appointees.
that were appointed, or anybody that we lost since 2017. So my list is like at least 2 years behind.
Yeah, I mean, and like Johnstown County Clerk, well, if the soil and water, or, the fire board down in Maringo or that had to change someone, well, they might not get around to telling Joe that they
Right.
made that change.
The only way that Joe could figure it out is when they have to turn in their non-form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the only way you can figure it out.
and the prior clerk did not keep a database of who's in and who's out, so.
Yeah, I know, I tried working with her on the 2017 list.
So it's
That was one
sounds
of the
easy,
reasons
but
why-
We're gonna
it's
change
not.
that.
That was one of the big reasons why I ran, is because of her lack of, and then her tearing apart the website and taking out everybody except for like the village president and
Yeah.
treasurer, secretary.
Yeah.
But taking out all of the board members for all of these different little groups that used to be there before her,
Right, right.
That was another reason why I wanted to run, is to put that crap back out there.
Right.
Because everybody's got a right to know who their elected officials are.
There's no back button.
Yeah.
The reason why we need to get this updated for ourselves too is we want to try to get as many of them on our side to help support these bills once we know what they are. And I think having local officials say that they endorse these bills will help push our state people to understand that, hey, even the locals are behind this. It's not just some group now. We actually have elected officials that are saying we need our elections secure, accurate, and fair for everybody. You know, I'm thinking I need to talk with Meg and see if she wants to actually become a member, or we can get her to be an affiliate member and have her head that group up. I mean, she's already doing, like I said, the state stuff. And then the tech stuff, our tech judge here has helped us at least know what equipment we're dealing with. But the next thing we need to do is take that information and look up the pros and cons on these pieces of equipment, and maybe help Joe figure out, you know, on the cons, how to help secure that part of it.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I probably won't volunteer for any committees. I didn't think it's appropriate really, but I am here to be a resource and to contribute however I can.
Okay.
I am as interested in fair and righteous elections as everybody else here is, so.
So, I know I was told not to take you away from somebody else, but if you could help form it and get a team going.
Just be the chair.
Yeah, chair's easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
You want to share that?
Yeah, okay. There you go. Done.
Okay, so I just heard Mike Toller and Brett volunteer
Whoa,
for the technology. Yeah, I've got 4 kids, man, you can't run, you cannot hide.
I think it's very important that we find somebody for the technology committee that is not tech savvy, as well, because it's I look at a piece of technology and I see how it works. You look at a piece of technology and you may not, and that viewpoint is invaluable.
I mean, really,
You're absolutely
the same
right.
thing happens when I go in, you know, to do a corrective action somewhere, and I'm like, hey, this is, I start saying quality terms, and they just look at me like, huh?
You've got 3 heads.
Yeah, you got 3 heads, but to me, it makes sense. So, yeah, you need somebody to.
Got it.
Right. I mean, like, I've been doing a county administrator, quote unquote, proposal for gotta be 10 more years now. And I'm not that much of a tech person as many people are. But in a way, that's good, because I've been doing it enough, I have some skill. But if I don't understand it, other folks ain't gonna understand either, and the tech nuts who are running that need to know that.
Right.
Have to be user friendly.
Yeah, basically what I'm saying is that, yes, I mean, you can chair the technology committee by your appointment there, but don't be afraid if you're not tech savvy to step up or to be on that.
One that's been warmed up though.
Keep in
We're
mind
good.
here, just, you do not have to set these right now. These are things that people can think about. These are the 4 groups we want to start with. Once we get into, you know, knowing more about what's going on with our bills, and then we can think about the events and publicity committee and the fundraising, because then we'll have an idea that, hey, we want to do these mailings, or these events are going to cost us these. Public education, I believe that really needs to be a combination that you really can't have public education until your tech guys and your elected research people get stuff together to present at these education. So I don't see any reason to try to put resources to it right now until we have stuff that they can use. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, sure. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to do something like that, contact us, let us know. All right, now, Brett, do I got you for helping with Facebook? Once we get approval to get it up and get some content
Once you
for
tell
it?
me, yeah.
Social media.
Yeah, Brett will.
Once you tell me it's all been approved and everything, then I can hit the go button.
I think that's where Diane could help you too, because that's also public relations, and she's been real good with getting press releases out in the past. So,
I can help
you know, I think you could be a good resource for that.
Public education. Yeah, I was just thinking that's something we might want to look
Okay.
at co-sponsoring to.
Public education.
With the League of Women Voters?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Because
a
those two
natural-
go hand in hand. I mean, it is, it is,
Okay.
And I know, like,
Bring it up
that's-
to our members.
oh, yeah, of course.
there's no corporate, but like I said, there's affiliate, and then affiliate could be a single person or a group.
Mhm.
Okay, so, that means anybody, you could send anybody over from the League of Women Voters to say, hey, they're representing us this time.
Let's work together.
Yeah. That leaves the, I've already covered where bills are gonna be paid and that kind of thing under that tax number of the state. Our bylaws say that we meet the last Saturday of the month. That we can change at any time if we want to. We don't have to do it that day. If there's some sort of conflict, we can change it.
Is that a
So
full?
tentatively, right now, I'd like to say that February 27th will be our next meeting for the members. And one of the things I was planning on trying to do is switch it up. So last time when we had the informational meeting, it was down in Woodstock. This time I brought it up here, so it'd be closer to these guys. Lisa checked out the Crystal Lake Library. And they said they
Crystal
only-
Lake Library holds 6 people in their meeting room.
Yeah,
No, the other option we were kind of looking at was the Lake Hills.
They do.
What I
It's
saw
on the
online, it
website.
was like, what
Well,
the heck?
if you
So, boy, it costs.
If you need or want, I can sign up for the membership, because they require a
Yeah, the
member.
is a good one, and they don't charge.
Yeah,
I mean,
and,
that's, you
but
know,
I,
a big thing.
just let me know, because like I said, you have to be a member of the library to sign up for it,
Last
so
Saturday.
I'm in it, so.
That'd be the 23rd.
I was gonna say, that's not the 27th, that's the 23rd.
Oh, was I looking at the wrong
Figure it out.
Well, yeah, it was like, okay,
Because it's the last Saturday of next month.
Sorry, guys.
that's all right. Just wanted to understand you were losing it.
23rd.
It is the 23rd.
Change it.
Let's look at 2019 now.
The other reason why I wanted to float it around, I know Woodstock is central, basically the center of our, but they have this rule that you can only, groups can only reserve it 6 times a year. So that's one of the reasons why I was, they are free, these guys are $10. And technically, we should be paying them 20 because we got that half too, but they're the ones that opened it up for us, so we got away with that one.
I have an office in Woodstock, and so, as such, I can reserve it 4 times a year.
Okay.
And we've done programs and things like that. If we need that.
I mean, I was gonna shoot for Woodstock, and then my wife brought up this morning, why don't we go over to Crystal Lake and, you know,
Yeah, just
switch it
kind of make
around
it
so
sort
it's
of
more fair, and I'm like, okay. And that's when she looked it up.
Well, at that point, I want to go to Union.
Why?
Almost there.
You want a wild west show?
Yeah. I want to visit the train museum.
All right, Kathy Johnson.
No. I just have
Let's
to
go to
there.
Riley next.
So other libraries that have meeting rooms and people might be a member of Harvard,
Harvard,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't-
You can do it.
Cary.
I think the Potters are members of the Cary one.
Yeah, we could-
So am I.
Oh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, we're in.
There we
It's
go.
not like they let me choose what library.
In the Panera in Crystal Lake and Fox River Grove, they have meeting rooms too, but it would be close. if it was big enough.
Yeah, we were at December's meeting, we had, what, almost 30 people there,
Yeah,
you know?
it'd be kind of tight.
Well, yeah.
And today we've got
22.
22, so.
So you're living there, you're already counting stuff.
That's right.
It's awesome. I mean, in the summer, we can also do outdoor, you know,
Venues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Barbecue meetings.
I like
There you go.
that.
That one.
Well, barbecue meeting. All in favor of barbecue meeting, say aye.
I don't know about,
Meetings with food are always good.
I'm not a snow bunny, so saying let's go out and do a ski, nah, ain't gonna happen.
Big rooms that they let you use.
Thanks, yeah, that's what something I brought up this morning with my wife.
Um,
The new bank in Hebron is a hell of a room. It's
By the way,
twice the size.
the townships too, the
Yeah,
township has a,
Yeah.
they can do that.
Okay.
All the townships have it.
Till somebody dissolves all the townships.
Yeah. And cities too.
We won't get into that one right now.
It's all Conquin Township.
Do we want to tentatively shoot for Woodstock right now?
This one.
Get it out, since they're so easy to deal with. All right, so
I
I'll
say
set up
aye.
something for the 23rd.
All those in favor, Woodstock?
Aye.
Woodstock works for.
Okay,
Woodstock where?
Library.
the Woodstock Library.
That's for February,
time?
right?
Yes.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Once we,
Okay,
get
to
to their
be
website,
determined.
and, yeah, the
Yeah,
time will be
TBA.
determined. You want me-
TBA, we will get the message out to everyone.
Yeah.
And do you have a location there?
Woodstock.
Like,
Yeah, it's always downstairs, there's 2 rooms down there, so it's either straight ahead when you come downstairs, or it's the one going towards the bathroom. And that leaves it up for any kind of questions or comments from the floor.
I have, Joe says he wants to serve as a resource, and I have some questions he can help us with.
All right.
I heard a rumor that downstate they're considering changing the law so that there's fewer judges per precinct.
I haven't heard that, but I'm going to a meeting of county clerks in a couple days. I can see if that.
Not a good idea.
Fewer judges per precinct, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
that's what.
There is one out there.
Quite a bird.
There was one that I found when I was running against Joe here,
Yeah.
that said that you can do it for the off year, anything but the federal general election. If the county board so voted on it, they could reduce it to 3 per precinct from 5.
Well, anyway, that's a whole question which would be of interest when you're talking election integrity. And if they're still gonna insist on,
Redistricting.
balance of it, you gotta have your Republican judge and your Democrat judge and all that kind of thing. So just the whole setup for election judges, are there any changes anticipated? And who are the people to watch? What are the committees in the General Assembly that deal with election law and stuff? There must be particular committees.
Well, it probably hits 2 or 3 at least.
Well,
So-
right, but, it helps if you just track those committees.
Yeah.
Because they come up with some crazy ideas down there sometimes.
The hell you say, Kathy?
And we went on and we started screaming about it, and miracle of miracles, they changed it. They didn't think anybody was looking, or because they don't work the election, they don't realize the implications. And it was how many signatures are required to get on the ballot. And it was percent and all that. So it was, if you had to be caucused in, like, you needed the same number of signatures as an independent candidate.
I think we should change all the signatures to one
So
number.
if you want to caucus someone in, say, for just county board, that would have ended up being more signatures than people were required to be state rep.
Right.
That is just
Well,
insanity.
that's, when we just did this last go around, I went for my library board, I needed 29 signatures. He went for county college, and he needed 50.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
30 signatures for a library that's,
It's nonsensical.
yeah, it doesn't make
but,
sense.
and they do, but that really was just election protection all the way for the
Yeah.
people who were in office. It was
Yeah.
crazy. And they they did drop that part. You still have to get signatures, but you don't have to get
That crazy.
a crazy number.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I guess Chicago, can they set their own stuff?
I don't know. A lot of the laws will be stated like this, blah, 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 blah,
Except
unless
for
you
the-
have
Right.
more than 2 million population,
Yeah.
and then it's something different.
Or your home rule.
Or your home rule.
Yeah. Because,
Or you're one of the 4 that actually have an election board in the state, that's all. Out of 102 counties, 4, I don't think it's 4 counties, I think it's 2 counties and 2 cities, like Chicago.
I think there, and I think, I know DuPage is
DuPage just
gone,
lost one.
and, Kane or Will is going to be gone.
Yeah, one's gonna be gone, so they did a lot of, but those requirements for how many signatures they're supposed to need for the Chicago mayoral election, that's insanity.
Yeah, it's crazy, yeah. And then, you know, in some of so election law, and, you know, I'm sure Drew's looked at it, is oftentimes ridiculously unnecessarily confusing, prohibitive, and often, self-conflicting. I mean, you read, a paragraph and then read the next paragraph, and it seems to have undone what the last paragraph said, but.
Or it does the split, home rule versus non-home rule.
So you
Like when I was on the
flowchart just
village
read.
board, trying to get that recall ordinance passed that again, I'm a plagiarist, I'll admit it, I stole it for Buffalo Grove. Didn't realize that they were a home rule entity.
Oh.
And substituted Hebron for every place that said Buffalo Grove to try to pass it, and had our state's attorney in Bianchi's office at the time call me up and say, cease or desist, or we're going to arrest you. And I'm like, excuse me? You're not home rule, you can't govern your elected officials. And boy, did I go off on that guy. It's like, wait a minute, I can understand when you get to be a certain size, you have certain responsibilities that you need these home rule laws for. But everybody, no matter if there's 1 person or 2 million people in your jurisdiction, y'all should have equal rights on how to control your elected officials.
On the subject of that signature, I was looking for my math, I had recently done math. If somebody were to run as an independent for McHenry Township, they would need, at minimum, 359 signatures.
Oh, jeez.
At maximum, 574 signatures. Running as a Republican, they need 15. Running as a Democrat, they need 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Again, how
insane.
are our elections fair when you get on the ballot, you have these goofy requirements? It should be just like,
It should just be one set of
like this year.
Yeah.
No matter
numbers and call it a
what
day.
party you belong to or don't belong to, you all get the same number of signatures. Isn't that free and, you know, equal for everybody?
Well, and the other thing too is it might change, you know, it would change a little bit if the state of Illinois didn't have bogus rules on how they, what's the word for it? See as a party.
Right.
They only see two.
Recognize
They only
parties.
recognize 2.
Joe will tell you, that's what they say in a lot of the things. Recognize
Yeah.
parties.
Right, and there are 2.
Yeah, and I looked into like how you would become a recognized party in the state of Illinois. Pretty much you're looking at not gonna happen.
Yeah, right. You need $1 bazillion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, isn't the Green Party still a recognized party?
No.
On the,
They lost their recognition?
yeah,
Yes, right. At this
Okay.
point, it's just Republicans and Democrats.
because that's the federal, yeah, the federal is also different than state, and I mean, it's, yeah.
Anybody else with any questions or comments?
The thought process, not only is Joe a resource for us, but we can be also a resource for Joe.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was
commenting
talking
on that, yeah.
When it comes to the pros and cons of the
Not
equipment
only
we
pros and cons.
got inherited, because you had nothing to say about that. Mary just left that mess for you to
Yeah.
deal with.
Not only the pros and cons for the equipment, but we have a serious, and speaking as an election judge for a number of years now, we have a serious shortage of election judges.
Yeah.
And we can get out there, we can get people to sign up and make that happen, because that is how we guarantee integrity as well. More eyes watching everybody.
Right.
Well, yeah, how do we do that? It's nice to say that. How do we? how
That's
do we
something we
get
can
that?
look
Joe's
into.
other problem's gonna be.
Well, see, this events and publicity committee here.
Looks like you just signed up.
Larry for events and, I'm sorry.
The other thing that Joe's gonna have to deal with, that Mary tried to deal with, is the redistricting of all the precincts, where she wanted
Yeah.
us to go from 212 to 325.
Yeah.
Now times that by 5 judges each, when we
Yeah.
couldn't even, what was it? in-
That was a political stunt,
Yeah.
is what that was.
But what does the state law say? Do we have to have the precincts that are, the population can't be more than X?
Well, see, that's one of those laws that's self-conflicting. I'm going from memory now, so I'm making up the numbers a little bit. But it says something like at the beginning of it where each precinct should be approximately 400 people. And then it says it shouldn't be more than 800 people. And then it says you should set it on during presidential campaigns in the summer before the general election or something like that for the following year. And then it says that you don't have to change, that if you don't do it in that time period, you can do it whenever. And then it says, if you still don't do it, that you can be forced to do it if in any precinct there was more than 1,800 people in that precinct for more than 3 consecutive November elections. So what is the rule? I couldn't even begin to.
Throw it up and let the man hit it.
I think the thought process behind the rule, though, was back in the day when we were manually counting.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're sitting there with a precinct with 1,800 people
Votes,
in
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So I think, as I heard before, that bunch of garbage is being looked at to be simplified and made more realistic for today's more automated clerks.
Well, having been one who had a precinct, which we had 4 judges, that had 1,801 in it, although we weren't counting it by hand, we had to count every one of the ballots and make sure they were all taken care of.
Oh, right.
And right across the area from where we were at, there were 4 people sitting there who had 700?
No, they have 600.
600 people in their precinct.
Oh.
And I'm going like, it's not so much as you should go through and decide that only 3 judges are required. You have to take a look at the load that goes with that. So even if 25% count is coming up, the one with 4 and 1,800 people who could come is being killed for the whole day. There's somebody there all the time.
And having been in a precinct with about 1,600 people in it, sharing a ballot box with that precinct with 600 people in it, and having about a 70% turnout in the presidential election, and having to sit there and separate all those ballots at the end of the evening was a major problem.
Yeah.
And then having shared that room with my 1,800, occasionally, somehow, ballots would get crossed and in the wrong box.
Yeah.
And you'd have to find the 2 or 3 that were missing from you that was over there.
One of the nice things about the new equipment is that you don't need to separate them.
Yes, I know, I saw that,
Yeah.
that was pretty nice.
And now,
There's a lot of
I
that.
found it out after the whole thing she did for the general election, or for the primary. I think I found it out like 3 weeks after our election, between the 2 of us.
Yeah.
There's a thing saying you can have more than 4 precincts in one polling place.
Yeah, this is right, I was talking about the self-conflicting law. And the other one I was talking about before, it also vacillates between registered voters, actual
Total
people who have
population.
voted,
Mhm.
and then it just talks about voters. So it's specific, unspecific, specific about something else. So there is a lot of variation and lack of specificity in self-confliction.
And it's stated in 2 or 3 different places in
Yes.
the election code.
Yeah.
It's not all together.
No.
I think we
Yeah.
need to advocate for a more reasonable approach to this whole districting thing, because what we're advocating for here is gonna require additional work. And the idea of reducing the number of precinct workers during the voting, whether they're a judge or watch or whatever, is ridiculous, because in Dunham, we only had 3.
Well, I think that they're trying to
Three
change the laws just
for the
because
whole
there's not
day.
as many people showing up.
And they were exhausted by the end of the day.
Well, here's the other thing too, is a lot of people
And that was
don't
one
realize that the law says you can have regular judges, the tech judges, and then
We
county
have one.
judges that come in at the end of the night. So you could have a third set of judges that haven't been there all day, come in to do.
But we
they
couldn't
call them
even
television
get
sometimes.
3. We had 3 and no tech in Dunham.
No boy.
And they promised the tech was gonna come in at night, but never did. So it was over the phone or whatever. the
So
hell.
how crazy do you go when you say, okay, we can't even get the judges we need now?
So we have to
Now
figure out
you're allowed to have
something.
tally judges on top of the
Yeah.
regular judges.
Right.
I'm just, you know,
And
is it a factor of not paying the judges enough for the day's work? Or is it just publicity?
I think it's a little bit of all that, and it's a long day.
It is. It's a hell of a
There
long
at
day.
the, crack or whatever and stay till after
The
whatever.
crack.
So 5 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
till 8:30, 9 o'clock at
Yeah.
night, by the time you
Up
get
in
the stuff off in the
Wisconsin.
township.
My son's done judging up there. They do shifts, they have like 2 shifts.
So it also
Well,
goes
you
back
could if you had enough people.
Yeah.
But how do you get enough people?
Yeah, but you might have more people available if it's
If you're
only,
working 14 hours.
You didn't have to work a 14-hour.
Well, I get that, but
So-
you still need the number of people to have 2 shifts.
One thing that has effect on this is that elections are on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Right.
Elections are not holidays.
No.
And many people from age 20 up
There you
to
go.
70 years are probably working on Tuesday.
Right.
So your judges, the ones that come and help are either like college students who take time off,
Old guys
or
like me.
it's like older people. You can't have older people come in at 6 a.m. and expect them to work till 9 p.m.
Why?
Right.
With, it's just, it's not. Now, ideally, I think one thing in terms of integrity in this issue would be to push to have, a national holiday on Veterans Day, or coordinate with schools. They have plenty of in-service days when schools don't meet or whatever. Push to have a holiday, and, or have elections on days when people are not working.
Seriously?
Well, like I
And
was saying,
that
in my
way,
campaign,
you'll have election
a holiday
judges.
or move it to the weekends.
My husband and I were both election judges for 15 years. He did it even longer than I did, but he has a job now where he travels, he cannot do it on a work day.
Right.
And and then the older people were picking up the slack, but then we went all automated, and the older people don't know how to set up the machine. And they were told very curtly that if they didn't attend their trainings and pass the test on setting up the machine, they would not be allowed to work 14-hour days. And they said, you know what? I don't need this. And that's why we
I started to say, why the hell did they show
Just-
up?
just thinking that, pushing to have a holiday or have it on a day that is, like if you're gonna have a Martin Luther King Day or something like that, when a lot of people do get the day off, or if you're gonna recognize a holiday on the Monday after or whatever.
Or like the state of
Or
Oregon,
we do
Kendrick
it-
Pulaski Day or whatever, yeah.
Or we do it the way they do in Oregon, which is, it's all by mail.
Mhm.
There's so much opportunity for fraud with that, Joe.
Yeah.
They're not having that problem.
I mean,
How do you-
well,
how do you-
part of it has to do with our state law though, because under our state law, anybody can turn in
Yeah,
a vote by mail ballot for anyone,
yeah.
as long as there's a signature on it.
And there's all that ballot harvesting that was going on.
Right, so that's part of the problem, is the state law just needs to
When
change
you
all that.
mentioned Pulaski Day, I think in Illinois it'd be a good idea to have a big Pulaski Day, change that to
Election day.
State election day,
Illinois voting day or participation day, and in the fall, Columbus Day. Do we really need Columbus Day? Why can't we make that?
Especially still stuff with the presidential elections,
Yeah.
because that's national.
Yeah,
So
that's-
I'm talking about nationally, we should
Oh, yeah.
And,
have them do this.
and I've talked to people at schools about shifting a XYZ day to be Tuesday, and I've been told repeatedly that the teachers union won't allow it. That they-
Well, the membership would have to vote on it, and then they would say no, because it's a Tuesday and not a Monday.
Right.
So they can't fit it into a 3 or 4 day weekend.
Right.
That's exactly what.
yeah, but the administration wants those 4 for 3-4 day weekends too, because they turn down the boilers.
Right.
They turn
They
everything
turn
off.
down the heat and then,
point.
Yeah.
right, so if you have school Monday, but then off Tuesday, you're gonna have to keep the boilers running a little bit longer.
Well, when I
and
worked in
that's money.
Richmond at EMS, he went from 5-day work week to a 4-day, made it 10-hour days. And he's like, just being able to cut everything off on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I have saved so much
Right.
in electric and
Right, so,
gas and
I
everything
mean,
else.
you're gonna get, but,
And it's green.
and then, but if it was a holiday and the schools weren't in session through the weekend or that, then schools could be used for polling places. Because excuse me,
Right.
I'm already
Right.
paying taxes for those
Mhm.
schools.
Right.
Why should all this drama and havoc be done because they can't be used for polling
No, the other problem I've got too is what's with all the city halls.
Yeah.
Every one should be open as a polling place.
Some of them don't have the kind of facilities.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I guess you would need bigger rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I plan to take both the Hebrons and the Village Hall, having sat on that board for 4 years and watching what happens in the elections, just having one precinct in there
Yeah,
and not having ADA compliance on the front door. and
right,
It's like, yeah, Mary, you're full of, you know what on this one.
yeah. That's a big problem. That's almost as big a problem as the getting election judges is finding a place for
Yeah.
them. That's a real challenge. Because the schools don't want us. More and more, they're kicking us out.
Security.
And it's security. And the thing that, I don't want to make light of it, but I don't know. It's all the people that are at Jewel and at Walmart. It's your neighbor. You know, it's all the people in your neighborhood already. And it's not in the dark of night, it's in a dark alley or something, it's in a gym, but yeah, it's
Or
hard.
even when you say that, okay, we'll do it on a day when the kids aren't there, then all of a sudden, well, how are we gonna stop somebody from planting a bomb that'll go off the next day when they aren't?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
Most
like,
of these schools
really,
have
there could be an
community
argument
rooms.
for everything, if you
Right.
really wanna just keep it going.
Right.
Well, if we don't have that election there might be a nuclear blast next week.
Yeah, right, right. And I know you don't agree with this, Drew, but that's why I wanted to get the corporate partners involved in this. So if a place like ENS has a big lunchroom and we don't have another polling place in that area, either have them as being a contingent place or as an actual polling place.
Well, the only disagreement I have on that one is the electioneering. Because it's a private place, they get to say no, or only you can have your signs here, but you can't.
But not if we have the agreement to protect that, though.
Okay.
If we set parameters around that sort of thing, where we could say we can make it a no electioneering period, we could say it's the 100 feet outside the room. But yeah, I agree, we couldn't let them put a thumb on it.
We had a problem with electioneering,
Oh, yeah.
similar to this. We were stationed at Martin School on the Reed Road campus in Huntley. There were 3 precincts there. There was also a school referendum on the ballot. We had a principal who went ballistic. Well, this is my school. I'm in charge here. We had a fellow from Del Well come and have signs and information anti-referendum. He was well beyond the 100-foot mark. He was in the parking lot and very friendly and not accosting people at all. And she called the police and said, I have the right to have him removed. I rule this property. At the same time, we had parents on the pro-referendum committee coming in with their sweatshirts and the T-shirts on their children, and, you know, and standing by the entrance to the parking lot with little children shouting at the senior citizens, why do you hate children?
Oh,
And she didn't have a problem with that, and we told them they had to turn their shirts inside out and they had to take their buttons off to come in to vote, and she had a fit.
And
We had
they
to
have
call
the
the
same-
county clerk, and the county had to send a sheriff's deputy down to settle the thing. And so I could see an employer, his employees are all right, his or her employees are all right on location, handing out information, this is what we support, this is who we support, and if they're giving it to the employees at their workstation inside the building, that's not necessarily electioneering, if they're
Oh, it is? Well,
So-
if they're outside the 100 feet, then it's.
And that's what I'm saying. So unless you have a way to separate that, and there's an automatic political advantage if you're in a place of business where you have an owner or a company that endorses a certain proposition or a certain party or a certain candidate. This is why we have things in public buildings. And I'm just.
If you don't have a public building, though.
Then you find another place, or you rent a place, you can go someplace like, we've had emergency voting at Pinecrest Golf Club, because they have a banquet room,
Right.
things like that. But you do not do that. I was a reporter in Springfield in the State House for several years, and we heard things like this debated on the floor there too, about, not the specific thing, but electioneering and that. And, basically, as soon as you put private enterprise into it, you've compromised yourself. And so I will not compromise. We can't compromise on that, that's really too important.
Isn't the Springs off of 31, the senior citizen facility, isn't that a private facility?
All the way at the bottom of the hill there?
Yeah.
I've been there for 30
Yeah.
years, and I have never encountered an issue at that facility. It's not, and let's face it, you've got residents sitting in there.
Yeah,
You
that's-
have residents sitting right
The
next to the
fountains,
polling
fountains,
place
right?
who could be wearing, I wouldn't be the one to try and throw one of them out. But they could be sitting there if they wish to. I have in 30 years, and that means probably over 50 elections, I have never observed inappropriate behavior at the Springs. I've seen the signs on the driveway headed in, they end before you get to the Springs. So, I agree, there is a risk involved in a private entity. If you identify a location after one incident that is not compliant,
Right.
be it a school or whatever, you don't go back there.
And I
If
think-
you're looking for perfection, you're not going to get it. Drew says he's in quality. I don't think the standard is Six Sigma. Okay? I believe the standard here should be excellence. And excellence to me does not mean perfection.
No.
So, if it is necessary to go to an honest, what, in the opinion of the people in charge, is an honest private location, and I use the Springs, it's my only experience, as an example, pardon me? Fountains, excuse me, fountains. That's where it's from. The fountains. That to me is an example of a successful, because to me I say it's an example because I've never observed an incident. By the way, in all those elections, in line with my wife, I have never observed anyone challenged. I find that interesting that for all those incidents, nobody's ever asked for a driver's license or anything from any voter. And that's one of the reasons I showed up here today is, how do we know they are who they say they are and not the children of who they say they are voting for them, because nobody ever checks. But to your issue, I think there is a place, in my opinion, based on observation, for the right location if you need it. I think public location is the best alternative.
Yes.
Lacking that,
Absolutely.
and avoiding putting 5 precincts, especially different, loading them into one polling place and making it impossible to
Speaking to
do
your
it.
example there with the senior citizen complex, there are polling places. In Huntley, for example, Green Trees Senior Citizen Complex has polling there. And it also makes it more accessible to those who have mobility issues. No problem with that sort of thing. What I'm talking about, there are people from the public who come and go there throughout the day too. And visiting there are people that live there, and it's not run by, the complex itself is not a political activist corporation, and it's not a privately owned for-profit business that basically has a closed campus on every other day. And so there is a difference.
I think we're agreeing on parallel lines. I would
I
also
also do.
agree that if you know an operation, either the ownership or the management is politically active, forgetting what your partisan wishes are,
Right.
then no, you wouldn't select that place coming out, you know.
Like,
Yeah, you just
wouldn't be holding a
That
rain
would
by his
make
office.
sense. But
Right.
if you know of a place that is And no, I wouldn't pick a restaurant as an example. But if you know someplace that has a cafeteria that is willing to give you half that cafeteria as a polling place, so it's not, and a lot of public traffic, it's very limited traffic, and they sign an agreement that says we will abide by whatever rules you put out there, and they are successful, then perhaps you've established a place that allows you to have just two precincts, okay? And the whole judge thing becomes less intense. So I'm aligned with you about the risk involved, but I think you also have to use good judgment in what you select if you're going to go private, and private only if you don't have a reasonable public location nearby.
And I think if you can actually write down in code standards, selection criteria. Also, one thing that I was proposed in recent months, I strongly objected to, is having it at a corporate place and allowing the corporation to actually pay the fee and choose the judges. No.
You used the word I was going to say, which is judgment. One has to use judgment. But one concern with a corporate polling place, my wife used to work for a company that had definite political opinions and promulgated them to the employees, basically saying, you should vote for this way and this is the way you should vote. Had the polling place been there, I have no doubt that they would have had each one of their employees, had told them, okay, between 12 and 1, this group goes and votes. Between 1 and 2, this group goes and votes, and you know how we want you to vote. And so,
between 1 and 2, you're going to have this party's shirt or
they might do that at their desks. They might do that at their desks. But the point is that then essentially you might say it's good. Okay, they're encouraging everybody to vote. That corporation's representation on that corporate side is likely to be much higher, much more represented than the general population. And
that exact situation came up years ago, back when I was a reporter on Springfield, up in Peoria, at St. Francis Hospital, run by the Order of St. Francis. And it was in congressional and presidential election. One candidate was pro-choice, endorsed by the Catholic, or pro-life, supposedly, endorsed by the Catholic Church. The other was pro-choice. The Catholic Church had nuns, had priests, had volunteers out there electioneering. People had to walk past them, even though there was only one drive going into the poll where you went into the voting room, and you had to walk down the sidewalk and past that drive. So even though it was technically 100 feet out, they stood there and did electioneering. They told all of their employees that the hospital corporation is anti-abortion, is pro-life, and they expected them to vote that way, and they told them that over their lunch hours they were expected to do that.
I had one thing that I wanted to comment on. Several years ago, I was on a committee with the League of Women Voters, and we looked at election laws all over the state. But one of the things that we found during one of the elections in Chicago is that there were places that had polling places, or buildings that had polling places in them, that were corporations or businesses, and people couldn't get to the polling place because you had to have an ID. You couldn't get through security to get to the polling place. So there are other problems with corporations.
But all these behaviors are abhorrent. But they could occur anywhere. They could occur at a school, they could occur at a township, they could occur at a library.
All you gotta do is just come up with like a simple set of rules saying there must be a main entrance going into the polling place directly in and directly out, and then,
And set expectations.
That would narrow it down.
Legion halls, veterans groups, civic organizations, places like that also have facilities. We should be able to find plenty of places without going into private corporations.
But there might be a spot where you can't, like say maybe in.
Well, then there may be in a very rare individual instance, you might want to stretch that, but that would be a last resort.
Right.
And I absolutely adamantly will go.
Right, I don't- like I said, I don't
As
think,
a reporter.
he's not advocating to like move it
That
all.
if you
this
have,
way.
if you have
It's a last
corporate
resort.
entities paying
It's after 3 o'clock.
the money of providing employees, it's plenty election judges.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to sign
Way off.
it.
Order.
It uses the Drendel Ballroom, well, I should say, the Drendel Ballroom is an election, polling place.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to have any electioneering outside, no signs, doesn't matter whether it's 100 feet or 1,000 feet. No.
Yeah, but that's run by the association.
Right.
The association is not a political PAC.
Right.
And it is a diverse community. That's a whole
Right.
different.
Everything we're talking about right now is already against the rules, it's already against the law. We can't know who or where is going to break these rules until they do.
Well, we know some people who.
We know that,
Well, the
there are
problem
some
is-
that are more likely than others, but the laws are already there, and we
Just
can't.
gotta get people calling out
We
on it.
have that's it.
The problem is there's too many of the negatives and not enough of the stories like what he was saying about the positive end.
Well, we had
We are
one,
not getting,
yeah.
you know, and as a quality guy, like I said, you add up, okay, I had 5 good ones and 20 bad ones. Guess what? The batch is bad. So what do we do to stop the 20 from happening? Right.
But as an election judge, okay, at probably about 5 years straight, we had nothing going on where we were at. We had these 3 precincts there. This was going on the outside. I was informed that somebody was out there electioneering. And I just walked out there and said, hey guys, you can't do that. Well, I thought, no, you can't. You gotta go 100 feet that way, okay? And they did, but they kept up doing what they were doing 100 feet, which, I'm sorry, even if you have a bunch of Catholic nuns standing around chanting and all that kind of stuff, they still do not know how you're going to vote.
Right.
Right? And I would abhor something like that going down to a direction, okay? But it's legal to do. I mean, we got hundreds of signs that are out there and all that. I mean.
Well, also keep in mind that the history of McHenry County, the Dems don't normally have an awful lot of candidates. Now all of a sudden, there's more candidates. Now there's more of this stuff happening because people are starting to feel threatened. They're no longer the ruling factors anymore. Dave had a church that was going crazy. Every time he turned around, he'd be finding all the damn signs in the garbage can. He'd go put them back out.
I went back out there and put the signs back up, probably 4 times that election day. They were taking Republican signs too.
Oh, I know.
They're all
Yeah, well, I agree, okay, and I've seen a lot of that too, where you see somebody's sign laying in the ditch somewhere and some new sign has gone up, okay? You know, I don't know how you stop that, okay? It's bad behavior, but I can understand
It
what people are
shouldn't be
doing.
happening at our polling places.
Yeah.
Those should be totally controlled.
And-
It's one thing on the side of the road, like you said, that's.
But at our polling place where we were at, I thought it was pretty well behaved, except for that one incident that we ran into, and it was easily resolved.
Right.
They moved.
Right.
Yeah, some people don't know any better.
I think they knew better, they just didn't think they would get challenged.
I think Joe's gotten more information out of this than anyone.
I think the stick by which we measure this shouldn't be whether or not an incident happens, but how quickly and how well it's resolved.
Right, yeah, right, good point. And you have to have people who are responsible for that to walk out and resolve it.
Because incidents are gonna happen, we can't prevent those. But the thing is that appropriate and swift response. And that falls on the election judges.
Mary told me straight up before the general election, during the early voting, you are going to need somebody, and this is an actual government place, Lake in the Hills, that you are going to have somebody go out there every morning, put your sign out there, and go back there at the end of the day and take it, because the whole time that early voting is happening, they're going to throw your signs away, unlike the other early voting places. So you even have government people infringing on this. And they're being equal opportunity race, jerks. Jerks.
Yeah, goes so quick.
Well, that's fair and equal for everybody.
Right. Anyways, way off topic.
What do we need to do for next meeting?
Okay, for the next meeting, hopefully I will have our list of committee members at the state. We'll have the bill numbers. I will put together a members list and get everybody's contact information, because I feel all the members should be able to contact each other. If you got an objection with me sharing your email, let me know.
One question before we call this, as far as being able to register to vote on election day. I disagree with it. I think that you got 364 other days in a year to be able to register to vote. And election judges on boring days, they may have the time to do it, but on those really busy days, they don't, and do I really know that your ID that you're showing me is really your ID? Especially, you don't even have to have a picture of it. You have to have like a credit card and then.
Well, that's one of the good things about them, has that bill for when they go get their license, or that they can register right then, right there, it's done.
But they're expecting the polling places to register somebody to vote, and then they can go ahead and vote.
Right.
Then. I disagree with that. I think, like I said,
Well, that's what I said,
364 other days of the year.
I thought you had to have ID in order to.
Two forms of ID.
In order to register.
Yeah, you have to have a license or state ID.
You gotta have.
You have to have something with
an address.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I think it's. You have a
Yeah.
picture ID and another ID to say you're at the
As an election judge, you need one thing from one group and one thing from other group. Group one always has a picture on it. Group two is things like your bills.
Utility bills.
So it's the same kind of thing when you go in to get your driver's license. You gotta have one
Well, if you're
from
really
column
going
A,
to,
one from column
going to
B.
commit fraud, you could easily have your picture on an ID. I mean, that's not like. But I mean, that's what you need to pressure on.
Yeah, you have that kind of thing.
They do proof of ID.
For beer.
But how many people, he's saying how many people actually go and ask?
Quite a few.
How many people?
Well, that too.
Motion to
How many are
adjourn.
doing it, how many are
I just want to say one.
I second it.
I think that's very, very impressive. I think you might have to come down to Cape Town and help us out. I think you should also, remember.